Hello everyone, again welcome on the channel. So today we bring a very interesting topic to you in the procurement, which is the challenges being faced by the scientific and research institutions across country. So in today's video we will do India as a case study. So let us start. So here we will see what are the procurement challenges in the government scientific institution across India. In brief, I will let you know what is a procurement activity. So it is the basic and most fundamental activity in any organization of any size, and it is an end-to-end process for acquiring goods, service, works from external sources to cater the need of your organization or department. And procurement also includes identifying needs, sourcing, negotiation, purchasing, receiving and inspecting goods, invoicing, payment, and developing good buyer-seller relationship while saving cost and reducing lead time. So these all activities are part of the procurement. So what government scientific institution procure? Actually, they have a different type of requirement according to their scientific need. So to cater that scientific need, what challenges they are being facing as on date, you just see in this slide. One is budget constraints, other is second regulatory compliance, and selection of right supplier and contract negotiations. So these are the some common challenges faced by the scientific organization, and they have different type of need of materials as well as the routine material requirement. They require the unique specialized equipment and consumables for such equipments and services. So this make them distinguish as compared to the other department because they have some of their unique requirements. And while making a procurement, they need to balance with the applicable rules and the research and development activities by them. So this is the challenges faced by them nowadays. So we will discuss in detail in my coming slides. Just see this graph. This graph shows you the money spent by different countries on procurement R&D funding to their countries, government, public funded institutions. If you can see that you take any country, the graphic is increasing in trend. You take any country, USA, China, Germany, Japan, UK, their spending is being increased year by year, and it is very clear. So the public funding R&D is a very important factor. That's why they are spending money. In this chart, you can see that what is the GDP percentage and which country is making what percentage of their GDP on the spending of research and development activities in that country. United States spent 3.5%, Japan 3.3%, China 2.4%, France 2.2%, and if you see India 0.7%. So still comparatively there is a need to improve more funding on the R&D as compared to the percentage of GDP in India. So we hope in India it will increase. What are the changes which have taken place in the public procurement infrastructure in India? One, actually the JAM portal, the government e-market and central public procurement portal, and there are several other portals also which is used by different PSU and departments. So they have been introduced within last 5 to 7 years. So this change has taken place. Most of the things are being done through using the e-platforms and frequenting changing rules. After, if you see after COVID, so there is a frequent change in the rules within every 15 days or months, or very frequently the rules are changing nowadays. Earlier it happens within a years. So these are the changes, changes also. Continuous knowledge update. The workforce who is involved in the procurement activity, he has to or she has to continuously update their knowledge, and the compliance burden is increased. Different government compliances are there, and different type of reporting is increased. So which is data driven, sensitive job, genuine human error, deliberate error. It is to be distinguished by the concerned department when taking decision in any particular case. And there is a multi-fold increase in the workload. Already there is a less workforce available because in the previous few years the adequate sanction strength has not been filled by way of recruitment. So whatever the existing workforce available, so they are having an increased workload on them and inadequate manpower. As compared to the increased workload, the manpower available are inadequate and most of the things are being managed with the help of contractual staff and they lack in experience and responsibility also. So the officials involved therein, they take decision in such circumstances and sometimes they handle the urgent requirement also. So these are the some of the main changes which took place in the public procurement infrastructure. And here you see the procedural compliances. GFR, which is the fundamental rule in procurement in India, we have the all the entities involving in procurement in central government, they have to do conformity with the GFR rules and they should get adequate and timely supply to their scientists within the framework of rule. We should be uniform, systematic, efficient and cost effective procedure adoptance and while invitation of tender or procurement process, a fair and equitable treatment to supplier is required. So there are many different type of other rules, regulations from RTI, CVC, audit vigilance, MSME, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, General Financial Rule, DPIIT, Make in India, delegation of financial power, customs rule, and different type of other applicable rules uh, which related to procurement. So these are the procedural compliances for the official involved in the procurement processes in public sector. So what they need to do? They need to finalize their product specification in such a way that it caters their requirement also and it caters the compliance with the applicable rules. So the user need should do the need assessment and then he should raise the procurement requirement and he should put some justification why he require that item, and while preparing the specification should be in such a way that it should be clear, precise, complete and unambiguous and the prevalent terminology should be used. There should not be any ambiguity and it should be very clear. The specification should reflect the actual requirement without restrictive nature. Challenges The challenges for scientific community is balancing functional need and market availability, considering rule compliance, avoiding external pressure that could lead to biased specifications. So these are some points which we should take care while framing the specifications. Also, you should keep the value for money in your mind. Whatever every penny you spend from the public fund, you should get at least that particular value. You should not spend the money on some specifications which are of no use. Level playing field should be there for every participating bidder and there should be wide competition and it should follow the basic principle of the public procurement, which is competition, transparency, fairness, elimination of arbitrariness, and avoid putting name of some particular brands, and if necessary there is a requirement to put some brand due to some qualitative issues, then you can use the substantially equivalent word in your specification. This will reduce the complaints in your specification and your tender process will be short without any complaint. The user should decide whether he should own the equipment or machinery or lease or hiring or outsourcing, which economic way it is better to them and in which quantity, what is the unit of measurement, time, schedule and place and estimated cost they should obtain. And the life cycle analysis and the environment considerations should also be kept in mind while framing the specifications. Discourage procurement of where the involvement of samples is there because it can lead to biasness. And scope of supply should clearly give the design, drawing, BS trademark, training warranty, AMC, etc. And one more thing I would like to say last, if there are no funds, so no order should be issued. Otherwise, you will create a liability on your department. So this should be avoided. Orders maybe issued only when you have funds. The specification should not be too restrictive that the genuine bidder or the bidder who are capable to supply, they are out of the race, and it should not be so too loose also that a small bidder who is not capable to supply can qualify in your tender, and it will waste your money and time both also otherwise. And you should keep in mind the efficiency, economy, fuel power consumption, and emission levels and low maintenance costs, etc. while deciding the specifications. Avoid delay in handling the complaints. If any specification complaint is there, also keep in mind the space requirement, installation requirement when the machine is arrived at your place. So it should be ready in advance, and please indicate the approximate period for equipment to become operational from the date of its arrival. So this should also be while framing the specifications. And as I told, it should be in a competitive way, while there should be a level playing field both for every bidders. Tentative inspection schedule should be mentioned in the specification, that after receipt of materials, in how many days the material will be inspected, so that if any insurance related claim is there in case of equipment or machine rejection, then those issues can be taken care of. And the whatever machine or equipment you or item you are going to buy, it should not fall within the restrictive list of exim policy, foreign trade policy, which is presently 2023 to 2028 by Ministry of Commerce, Government of India. If any special approval is to be required, please intimate in advance to your procuring team so that they can obtain the same before the material arrive at your place or before doing the custom clearance. Splitting may be avoided, of requirement may be avoided, because it can change it can change in the mode of procurement. If any complaint is there regarding any specification, if you publish a tender during the tendering process, so you should handle that complaint in a very efficiently priority way to resolve the complaint, and there should not be any complaint from any bidder. You should give due opportunity to every bidder, listen them, and if still they are rejected, so then you can reject also, but give them due opportunity. Whatever changes are there, you should publish on your departments or portal where you publish the tender. The lowest bidder means the lowest evaluated responsive bidder. There may be some time that the bidder who has quoted the L1 price, his products are not meeting your requirement. It can happen in case of single bid system where technical bid is not evaluated in the first stage. So what the L1 bidder means? Lowest evaluated responsive bidder. And when you are preparing a technical evaluation statement, it should be strictly as per the published tender specifications, and there should not be any point of rejection or acceptance to any bidder which is beyond the technical specifications. So while preparing technical specification, you should stick to that only. And optional item should not be mentioned in the intended specification. Always mention essential item, because there may be instances when X bidder can quote your optional item in main unit, and the other bidder who want to become the L1, he can quote his main unit item in the optional item. So this will lead to confusion in the evaluation process. So by this, you have seen that what are the challenges being faced by the public funded research institutions while making procurement in India. And I tried to cover most of the points. If anything, any point is left, you just mention the same in the comment box. And if you wish that I should make a video on a particular topic, please do mention in comment box. We will try to make video on that. Thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day.